They have been advisors for a really long time and they know that part of it, but then it's ever evolving because they're then starting to learn business skills or, starting to think about their own retirement. So whatever stage an advisor is at, there's always going to be some support needed. And this is why I think, mentoring across the profession is super important.
Hi, I'm Amy Austin, News Editor at FT Advisor. Thank you for joining me for this fireside chat with Hayley Rabbets, where we will discuss how the profession can attract more advisors and what is currently not working in this area. Thank you for joining me today, Hayley.
Thanks for having me.
Nice to have you here. So, when trying to bring advisors into the profession, do we think that there's maybe a bit too much focus on early stage support? So, training them, getting them their ROs, teaching them their soft skills, and then being like, off you go into the wide world.
Yeah, I think we do put a lot of time and effort into that initial training and support in terms of, like you say, the exams, the soft skills, and that's fantastic. There's some really robust training programs out there, but that whole thing of off you go, I think is when particularly newer advisors need it more. Like they need that ongoing mentoring and support, and it's something that I've probably shouted about quite a lot around mentoring. And, I saw it quite a lot when I was working with advisors setting up their own businesses. They have been advisors for a really long time and they know that part of it, but then it's ever evolving because they're then starting to learn business skills or, starting to think about their own retirement. So whatever stage an advisor is at, there's always going to be some support needed. And this is why I think, mentoring across the profession is super important. And weirdly enough, I did a LinkedIn poll yesterday around mentoring because the conversation I was having was, well, I'll get a load of mentors in for our planners from outside the profession, because there's always a danger when you keep it in-house that there's a bit of an echo chamber and actually you want some of that outside experience. And the person I was speaking to was like, I just don't know if outside people are going to want to help your planners within your firm. So I was like, fine, I'll ask LinkedIn. So put a poll out. And so many people have come back and gone, yes, no hesitation, yes, I will mentor, because the thought of mentoring and supporting advisors at all stages is more important than we're going to benefit your firm by your planners doing really well. And I think it's a really nice shift in the attitude towards that ongoing support and development.
And do you think that people then do want to, you have had this good reaction because people maybe when they were younger thought, oh, do you know what, it would be really nice if I had a mentor, or maybe they did have a good mentor and they're like, actually, I want to pay it forward.
Yes, spot on. Yeah, I think looking at that list of people, I know that there are people there who wish they had that strong role model, and particularly Laura Barnes from Nucleus, if I'm allowed to shout her out. I know, because we've had lots of conversations, that she never had a strong female role model in particular when she was coming up through that kind of sales side of financial services. So she is always the first one to be like, yes, I want to do this, because she didn't have it. And then I look at myself personally, I've had some great mentoring and it's really changed the direction of my career. So I really firsthand feel that importance. So it's exactly that. People want to help because they know how important mentoring is. And actually, I think some arrangements don't have that ongoing support. As you mentioned, they'll kind of front load it. So we as a profession know that actually it's really important to continue that support for a long time.
Yeah, and do you think that then if, this support isn't there, that there is a risk that, we will train all these advisors, we'll get them to where they need to be and they'll have their qualifications, but actually they won't stay in the advice profession? Like they might go back to what they were doing before and think, actually, that really wasn't for me, or this is too daunting, I'm going to just go do something else.
Yeah, quite possibly. I do know experienced advisors who still feel lost and they don't feel like they have that community and that support. I think the other thing is around development of roles. So, we quite often say, there's loads of paraplanners who don't potentially want to become an advisor, and is that because they haven't had that mentoring and that support to kind of go into those roles? There's, of course, lots of paraplanners that want to be career paraplanners, and I totally support that, and I thought I was going to be a paraplanner for the rest of my life as well. But I think that with a bit of mentoring and self-reflection and knowing what your skills are, what you're good at, what you love, we would be able to develop our existing talent pool as well as bringing in new people. So yeah, absolutely agree.
And do you think the kind of like the job market and how kind of being advisors maybe marketed kind of plays a role here? Because, there are a lot of the academies that, will take the people in, they'll train them up. And then when it comes to, getting the job, it will be like, oh, you need to become self-employed, set up your own firm. And I mean, I know if someone told me that would put the fear of God in me. I'd be like, I need to go and get an accountant. Like, how do I set up a business?
Need to pay my bills.
Yeah. Do you think that's maybe what scares people on the flip side of it?
Yeah, I think there's quite a lot of debate around self-employed and employed. I know tons of people who are actively looking to become self-employed after being employed. So they've maybe been within a firm in an employed role and they've built up a little bit of savings so that they can then go on and be self-employed because they want the flexibility. They want to be able to, take holidays or not in the early days. So I think that there's that side of things. But for some people, it is very difficult to become self-employed, particularly if you've never been employed. So where you're talking about the academies, I think that is a difficulty because people will go into it and think, well, this is great because I want the training and stuff. Maybe I'll think about the other bit later. And then they come down the line and then suddenly they're faced with, well, self-employed or nothing. And then I think that's potentially when we lose people. So I think the main thing is that when we are speaking to brand new people and we are encouraging them into the profession, I think we need to be very, very open about the range of different options and also aware that not one thing will suit everybody and that there needs to be flexibility and options for everyone depending on where they are in life and what they want to do.
Yeah, so tell me about Evergreen because you've set this up to kind of deal with these kind of problems.
Yes, yeah. So it is self-employed arrangement at Evergreen. So it's the self-employed support for advisors coming into Calton. Calton is an established firm up in Edinburgh and they have employed advisors. So, little story, I'll try not to talk too long. When I was thinking about what I wanted to do in my new chapter, I kind of sat down and come up with this concept of Evergreen. So I was thinking about the advisor life cycle. So brand new people coming in, emerging advisors or breakaway advisors, and then succession planning feeding back into that top bit of new people coming in. Hence Evergreen, because it kind of worked. And I had spoken to Tom Ham, CEO at Calton, about my idea. He was helping me to pitch it to investors. And then he was like, hold on a second, this is a great idea. Why don't we bring it into Calton? So the Evergreen pathway is specifically for self-employed advisors wanting to come into Calton and become a planner or support the breakaway or support the succession planning. But the idea, it's like wraparound support. So I'm, as I say, huge advocate of mentoring. We want people to mentor. We will also do things like training, development workshops consistently so that support continues over time. And the proposition itself is very modern. It's very forward thinking. It's the tech within it is very streamlined. And it's, a really good offer for clients as well. So what it allows planners to do is basically focus on the part of the job that they love, which is dealing with clients, hopefully, and we kind of take care of the rest. And this really came about by speaking to lots of different advisors at lots of different stages, identifying all of these problems and wanting to fix them. So I kind of took that experience and all the things that people have said to me over the years, and I tried to make that fit as best it could within our proposition. So hopefully we'll be supporting lots and lots of advisors at all stages of their career.
And in an ideal world, what would you want to happen? Would it be that the advisor academies work with, employed firms and get people in that way? Or is it, this Evergreen kind of proposition and going that way? What would you really want to see? How do we, get the tens of thousands of advisors in?
I think it's difficult because a lot of the main academies are obviously bringing, they exist to bring new people into their own business. So that's tough. I think that independent organisations bringing new people in could absolutely do more with employers. But I think the biggest barrier to new talent coming in and then finding roles, and I've been quite vocal about this in the past, that there is an abundance of people that want to come into this profession, but they're struggling to find roles and routes in. It would be around the employers, and particularly we've got a lot of small firms, some support for them. So I sit on the steering group of the New Talent Alliance, and we are slowly building resources and tools to help support those smaller firms to be able to take on new talent. So I'm hoping more independent organisations like that to really help bridge that gap. Hopefully will make a big impact. But, you know, all of this innovation, I hear lots of people who are setting up academies, the new apprenticeships are great. You know, I've seen quite a lot of firms kind of take that apprenticeship model and wrap it up into an academy within their firm. And it's a fantastic way for particularly small advice firms to be able to take on new talent, but have the support of like a training company.
Yeah.
Obviously, the government will pay some money towards it as well. So it's a really nice solution for firms who want to do that.
Yeah, I think
we're going the right way.
Yeah, I think it's what you say, you know, if you know, the big firms are out there doing it.
Yeah.
So if the small firms can get that support.
Exactly.
And that support is growing,
Yeah.
which we are seeing, then hopefully in the future, well, the near future as well.
Yes.
That we'll have lots more advisors running around the place.
Yeah, and it's great for small firms as well, because a lot of them, you know, want to grow. And again, my experience of speaking to advisors who have set up on their own is, I really want to grow my firm, but I don't know how to do it, or I don't have the time for training, or I can't bear the cost. So actually having something like an apprenticeship within like an academy proposition for a small firm, or resources to help them to take on people, that's also helping the firms grow, which is, you know, winner for the new talent, and it's a winner for the firm.
Yeah.
So I'm a big fan of that approach.
Well, thank you, Hayley. Thank you for coming in
Pleasure.
today. For more videos, interviews, podcasts, features, and all of the latest news, visit ftadvisor.com and see you soon.